Before we actually get started on tag team wrestling, there is one thing that I want to point out, and that's the fact that this is the first fully third-party game that I've actually done. Up until now, everything has been published or made by Nintendo, and in fact, only one game so far of the list has not been a complete Nintendo game, and I can't remember which one that was, but it was still published by Nintendo. So I was pretty excited to get past that first party stuff where I was constantly talking about the same people over and over again. A little disappointed that I had so much trouble finding information on this. You know, in the past, I've complained that Nintendo didn't do a very good job keeping track of who made what. And it turns out that Data East didn't do a very good job on it either. I suppose as we get further along in this series, we will find better and better information about the games, especially as the years go by and the popularity of the Nintendo Entertainment System keeps increasing. Anyway, I thought about saying this after I had recorded it, so now I'm going to cut and we'll go right into the actual tag team wrestling video. Hey everybody, welcome back to the NES Archive, where we're taking a look at the North American NES library, one game at a time. Today's game was originally released for the Nintendo Entertainment System 1 year after its launch in October 1986. The game is Tag Team Wrestling. On the back of the box it says you are challenged to match the awesome skills of your opponents to gain the title in the World Super Championships of Tag Team Wrestling. Teamwork and stamina are the keys as you and your partner battle your way through the title matches on a quest for the belt. Attack your opponents with body slams, drop kicks, back breakers, flying headbutts, or even throwing them out of the ring. To win, it's a pin for the count of 3. Nothing can match the super excitement as the crowd cheers over this mania on the mat. Prepare yourself for Tag Team Wrestling. The game was developed by Technos Japan Corporation and it was published by Data East. An interesting fact about these two companies is that the people who founded Technos actually started out working for Data East, and when they left to make their own games, Data East sued them for stealing data for their arcade game Pro Tennis with the intentions of creating bootleg versions of the game. They settled a lawsuit in 1983, and because Technos didn't have the money to publish their own games, Data East actually came on as a publisher for Technos games. I couldn't find the names of the people that actually made the game. However, Technos Japan also made games like Double Dragon, River City Ransom, and Super Spike Volleyball. The gameplay centers around trying to out-grapple your opponent. You walk around the ring trying to tag them with the A button, and if you're successful, you get 3 seconds in order to select your move with B. There's 7 moves for each wrestler, and pressing B cycles through them. Once you've selected your move, the move happens, and then the enemy takes damage to their stamina. If their stamina gets too low, they will try to tag out with their partner, and you continue this dance until someone is tired enough to pin, which you can fight back against by spamming the B button. I couldn't find any reviews of Tag Team Wrestling from back in the day, so you'll just have to settle for my thoughts on the game. I would say at first that the game is definitely a bit opaque. I had to go to a video on YouTube in order to figure out how exactly to do the moves. The instructions in the book didn't really make sense to me, but I could be an outlier. Once I got my head around the controls, I was actually impressed with the moveset that they pulled off on a 2-button game. The fact that some of the moves are better against other wrestlers was also impressive. On top of that, each wrestler has their own original move, but it was really hard to pull off the original move of each wrestler because that requires 7 presses of the B button in 3 seconds. I guess I need to get one of those old school third-party controllers that had the turbo button. I'd say that Tag Team Wrestling shows a depth that you wouldn't really expect from a NES era wrestling game. It did bother me a bit that the moves were different button combos depending on what wrestler you were playing. So if you were playing as I can't remember their names off the top of my head. If you were playing as one of the wrestlers, if you wanted to do a flying headbutt, you would press B 3 times, and if you were playing as a different wrestler, you would press B 6 times in order to do that same move. And it seems needlessly complicated and was a little confusing. The graphics are pretty decent for the era. The audience is animated. There's 4 different sprites for the wrestlers. The animations are kind of weak, but overall it looks pretty decent for an early third-party NES games. I have to remember that third-party devs, they didn't have as much experience with the NES hardware as Nintendo did. So it takes a little bit more work in order for them to make their games look as good. Quick little bit of trivia about the game. The enemies in the game are called Strong Bads, and it's funny. They are what Strong Bad from the Homestar Runner web cartoon got its name. I never knew that, and I was a big fan of Homestar Runner back in its heyday. So that was really interesting to me. There's quite a few wrestling games for the NES. Was Tag Team Wrestling one that you enjoyed? Please let me know below. That's it for this episode of the NES Archive. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.